live stream. Welcome to Quilt's first product launch. Yeah. And welcome to the home of Allie and Nikki, one of the very first homes fully outfitted with Quilt. So at Quilt, we have a belief. 1,000 years from now, when people look back at this era of human history, it's going to be defined by the energy transition. Now, controlled fire predates humanity itself. What do I mean by that? Well, the earliest evidence is from a cave in South Africa, where our distant ancestors lit a fire 1 million years ago. Homo sapiens have only been around for 300,000 years. So we've been using fire to keep us warm since the dawn of time. And we are now, finally, about to move past that. It's a big deal. And you could say this is like a species-level transition. And for the past 150 years, the burning of coal, oil, and gas has fueled unprecedented human flourishing. But the fossil fuel era is coming to an end. The resources are finite. We can't use them forever. But what's driving the urgency to find something better are the emissions that are changing the Earth's atmosphere and threatening life, health, and prosperity around the planet. The remarkable thing, though, is the new energy system we are transitioning to, it is not just sustainable and electric. The world it enables is better. The air becomes cleaner to breathe. Polluted waterways become swimmable. And the products in our lives, they're better too. Electric vehicles are safer and more fun to drive. And electrified homes are healthier, more comfortable places to live. And it is this transition to a better future that Quilt is all about accelerating. Now, many people don't realize this, but the energy we use in our homes is responsible for 20% of greenhouse gas emissions. That's more than cars. But maybe this shouldn't be surprising. Homes are our most important spaces. They're where we raise our families, cook our food, sleep, and play. And it turns out that there is one system in the home that dominates energy use: heating and cooling. HVAC is responsible for 70% of all fossil fuel use in the home. So it's very clear that if we want to accomplish and accelerate the transition to a better home, we need an all-electric, really fantastic heating and cooling system for the 21st century. And I have good news. The core technology to enable that already exists. And as many of you have already heard, they're called heat pumps. And they are magical machines. So what makes them magic? Well, they are more than 100% efficient, and they can both heat and cool in one machine. How is that possible? Well, because instead of turning electricity into heat, a heat pump just moves existing heat around, like a conveyor belt. And the result is they can be 4 times as efficient as the best gas or electric furnaces in the world. But unfortunately, when you look at the options available on the market today, you realize there aren't any truly great products bringing heat pumps into the home. And that means the transition isn't happening as fast as it could be. In fact, at the rate it's happening right now, it's going to take 200 years to electrify every home in America. That's too long. So what are the choices today if you want a heat pump in your home? You basically have 2. You can get a central system that forces air through ducts in your house, just like a furnace. Or you can get a ductless system. This means no ducts, the venting kind, not the quacking kind. and these are sometimes called mini splits. So let's quickly look at both. Okay, who here lives in a home with a forced air, or have ever lived in a home with a forced air system? All right, most of you. Keep your hand up if you have at least one room in your home that gets too hot or too cold. It's hard to control. All right, that's almost everyone. What does this all mean? I mean, this means central systems aren't that comfortable. You may have heard that like central air is what you should aspire to, But we all know from firsthand experience that isn't true. In fact, 80% of Americans with a central system struggle with at least one room in their home that is too hot or too cold. And to make matters worse, they're also really wasteful and inefficient. Why? Well, on average, 30% of energy created by the system, whatever is in the middle, a heat pump or a furnace, it's just lost in the ductwork, gone. It doesn't even make it to the home. And that's not even the worst part. The worst part are empty rooms. Most rooms are empty most of the time. If you think about your house, most rooms are empty. And yet, central systems condition the entire house at once. So in the summer, you are cooling an entire home while you're sitting in your home office working. And in the winter, people will heat an empty living room all night long while they are asleep in their beds. It doesn't make sense to heat and cool our houses this way. So how did we end up with systems like this in the first place? Anyone? No. So one word: fire. Fire is dangerous, right? When fire is your only method to produce heat, it makes sense to centralize it. You want to contain it. You can move the heat energy to something safer like air and blow that around. But we don't have to do that anymore. Like, using a heat pump with a central system, it's like taking an electric motor and putting it in a gas car and calling it an EV. Like, yeah, technically it works, but you're missing the point. Heat pumps allow us to throw out the old assumptions. They are safe. You can miniaturize them. You can put one in every room of your home and control each room individually. This is a much, much smarter way to condition a home. And an early version of this, a kind of direct ancestor to Quilt, are today's ductless systems, or mini splits. And these are already popular in many parts of the world because there is a lot to like. They are quiet, efficient, and super comfortable. But unfortunately, the units on the market today are just not quite reaching their potential. So the issues come down to ease of use, smarts, and aesthetics. First, they are all these big, bulky plastic boxes. They're just not something everyone wants to put in every room of their home. And then there's the controls. You control them with a remote. It kind of looks like it was made in the 90s. And since they're so difficult to control, the easiest thing is to just leave them on when the room is empty. So let's look at the heat pump options today on sort of a 2x2. Everyone loves graphs, right? So let's have the sort of performance, meaning comfort and efficiency, on the vertical axis, and the usability, call it how smart, easy to use it is, on the horizontal. So central systems, they inherently have comfort issues, and they're really quite wasteful. But they're fairly easy to use. And with a smart thermostat, they're like, well, they're doing the best they can with a simple system. So they're kind of half smart, meaning they're on the bottom, in the middle. Okay? So what about ductless systems? Well, ductless systems are definitely more comfortable and efficient, but they are way harder to use and not smart at all. So they're in the top left. We believe to accelerate the energy transition, we need a fantastic product. Something that is a clear upgrade no matter what you're coming from. Something that is as comfortable and efficient as the best ductless systems, and just as easy to use and way smarter than the best ductless, or sorry, the best central. We wanted to create a product that weighs way up there in the top right. And that's what Quilt is. And we're going to tell you all about it. But first, I want to show it to you. Quilt is beautiful, intuitive, and super efficient. It adapts to all kinds of homes, from very small to very large, from a whole home to a single room, whether you're living in the tropics or living in Canada. The system is built from 4 main components. The Quilt Indoor unit that blends into any home environment, the Quilt Outdoor unit that you'll be proud to show your neighbors, the Quilt Dial, our smart thermostat designed for room-by-room control, and really great apps for iOS and Android. And now the first thing you might notice about the Quilt Indoor unit is that it looks different. And not just different from what's on the market today, but different depending on what room you see it in. Our indoor unit blends into any home environment. That's actually why it's shaped the way it is. Most things in your home, doors, windows, they tend to be straight lines. And Quilt speaks the same architectural language as the home itself. But of course, a kitchen has a very different decor than a children's bedroom. And so we've made it customizable. The entire front panel can be painted or wrapped to match any style and really easily swapped. And we're launching with 2 front panel options, oak and white. It isn't enough to just blend in, though. You still need to fit physically into the home itself. And something we learned early on in our research is that many people want to install ductless units above windows. It's a natural place, they look great. But in many homes, there's only 1 foot of space, 12 inches. And most products on the market today are 13 inches tall. They just don't fit. And so we made Quilt short, like really short. Quilt is less than 8 inches tall. So this means our indoor unit will fit where many other things on the market just never could. And of course, we know every inch of your wall is valuable. So we didn't stop there. We've also included a beautiful accent light that can help brighten up a room or even showcase a piece of art. And what about the outside? So a heat pump outside your home should be a proud statement of your beliefs, like a beautiful EV in the driveway. And Quilt's outdoor unit, just like the indoor, it looks great, it blends in, and it matches the lines of the home. It's also quiet, operating at less than 55 decibels, which is much, much less than most central systems, so you won't disturb your noise-sensitive neighbors. And the Quilt indoor and outdoor units, they're the core of the heat pump system. But how do you control it? Meet the Quilt Dial. Dial is the thermostat reinvented for room-by-room control. Dial gives you a level of control over your home you've never experienced before. Once you have one of these in every room of your house, you do not want to go back to a single thermostat in the hallway. It kind of feels like living in the future. And anyway, so you may have seen a round thermostat before. We know this. But what you'll notice right away is how small the dial is. So this is because if you have a little control in every room of your home, you don't want a big thing on the wall. You want just a little dial, something like next to the light switch, or maybe on a bedside table. And that's why it has this wedge shape. It's so that if it's down at this natural height for your hands by the light switch, the screen is actually looking up at you. Or if it's on a bedside table, it looks like it belongs there. Dial also has a beautiful touchscreen OLED display. And now this technology is critical because it allows the screen to be truly black, even when it's not being used. This means it never grabs unwanted attention, like for example, when you're sleeping. This is important. And so Dial is our physical controller. But it's also, well, I should say, let's not forget this. It is much more powerful than any thermostat you've ever used because from this single screen, this one, that's plugged in, you can control any room in your home. You can adjust the temperature in a kid's room while you're sitting in the living room. It's just a simple swipe gesture. So that's our physical controller. But we also have really great apps for iOS and Android. In the app, Just like Dial, we've made both room by room and whole home control really easy. Also in the app, you can create schedules to control your rooms in the future. Like, for example, a sleep routine. Like, many people find they sleep better in a cool room. Yeah? Okay. And the app also has really, really great insights into the energy efficiency and savings you're realizing with Quilt. Now, because Quilt is a vertically integrated product, we can use information from the lowest level of the system to make better decisions. Like, for example, we can measure the actual power going into the outdoor unit and the heat coming out of the indoor. And this gives us true efficiency metrics in real time. And to share a bit more about our system performance and how we achieve it, I would like to introduce my co-founder and our CTO, Matthew Knoll. Hey.
Thanks, Paul. All great products start with a great team. And at Quilt, we built a world-class team with experience from Google, Nest, and Apple. And we combined that with a team who's been building industry-leading heat pumps for decades. By combining the best tech minds with the leading experts in heat pumps, we've built the smartest way to heat and cool your home. The current HVAC industry is fragmented. Furnaces, air conditioners, and smart thermostats are made by different companies, and integration is limited. Your smart thermostat actually has very little information about the system it's controlling, and it's only toggling the unit on and off. We're changing that. We started with class-leading hardware efficiency, and then we vertically integrated software capabilities that have never previously been possible with heating and cooling systems. On the hardware side, we set out to build a heat pump at the top of the line for efficiency, cold weather performance, and sustainability. And as Paul mentioned with heat pumps, the magic is how they're able to put out more energy than they take in by moving rather than creating heat. And there are two efficiency ratings that matter: how efficiently it can cool a space and how efficiently it can heat a space. And on the cooling side, our system has a higher cooling efficiency than any other two-zone ductless heat pump on the market. And our heating efficiency is really class-leading, so we more than qualify for all available efficiency-based rebates. Now, a common myth with heat pumps is they don't work well when it's really cold. Not an issue with the Quilt heat pump. Whether you're in snowy Maine or the Arizona desert, our system will keep you comfortable. In fact, Quilt is able to output full heating capacity down to -5 Fahrenheit and 90% capacity down to -13 Fahrenheit. That's really cold. And we've already been testing our system in some of the harshest parts of the Northeast. Lastly, we didn't stop at just making the most efficient heat pump. We also set out to build a heat pump that was a sustainable system, and it was also an upgrade in every way. Our refrigerant, which is the fluid that transfers heat between the inside and outside, is highly efficient, but also better for the environment than existing standards. We're adopting R32 as a refrigerant. Which has a proven track record around the world and has a global warming potential 3 times lower than the current refrigerants. Now, switching gears to our advanced software. Quilt's vertically integrated technology with 500 times more processing power than the existing heat pump means we're able to optimize every point of the experience to improve efficiency and make you more comfortable. Now, let's walk through how this processing power, in combination with our hardware, creates the most efficient system on the market through the example of empty rooms. Now, as Paul mentioned, traditional systems are burning money and producing excess emissions by heating and cooling empty rooms. And with Quilt's accurate millimeter wave detection, our system can sense occupancy changes to maximize efficiency and save you money. For example, if you leave your room and forget to turn your air conditioning off, Quilt will detect you're not there anymore, and will switch to eco mode to save energy. Now, there's a lot of myths out there about how to save energy when you leave a room. Do you keep the system at a constant temperature? Do you turn it down? Do you turn it off? The truth is actually, it's extremely dependent on the home, the weather, and the occupancy schedule. And our algorithms use those factors to determine how to condition your room with the least energy and then bring it back to comfortable temperature just before you return. So how do we do this? First, our system creates room-by-room thermal models. It understands if a room is leaky or well insulated, or if that room gets significant sun. Second, we use weather forecasts. For instance, the Quilt system looks at weather forecasts to avoid preheating rooms. We know the sun and outdoor temperature can do that job for us. Lastly, it takes into account the most efficient way to run the heat pump. So the performance of heat pumps greatly depends on factors like how hard you run them. So Quilt gently preconditions rooms rather than blasting them to save energy. So our smart occupancy sensing and control algorithms, along with our class-leading hardware efficiency, means our actual energy usage will be lower than other systems on the market. And with Quilt sensors, we're actually able to remotely diagnose system issues, and we'll proactively inform you about maintenance before you even know it. Finally, the system will get smarter over time with over-the-air updates that will deliver new features and improve performance. All of these distinct tech capabilities, in combination with our sleek, modern design, make Quilt the smartest way to heat and furnace in my house with a Quilt system. Before, I actually really struggled to control the temperature in my baby's room. But now I'm actually able to precisely control the temperature, which has made getting a good night's sleep just a lot easier. And the best part is, I actually turned off my gas furnace. So now I'm avoiding all those harmful emissions that his generation's going to have to deal with. Now on to my co-founder, Bill, who will talk about how we are rethinking the buying and installation process. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Matt. So, just as we've worked to create a much better product, we've also redesigned the purchase process with the modern homeowner in mind. Unfortunately, there's just way too much friction around getting a heat pump today. Researching the products, getting pricing, feels like a pre-internet 20th century experience. Buying a heat pump today looks like this. First, you have to find a reputable contractor. Now, there are many great contractors, but even they are frustrated by how uneven the landscape is for homeowners to navigate. Some contractors may not be familiar with heat pumps, and many are incentivized to sell you specific products regardless of what you want or what's the best fit for you. The burden is on you to figure out who's competent and who's acting in your best interest. Second, pricing is opaque. You have to make multiple phone calls and often arrange multiple visits to your home just to get quotes to try to get a sense of what's fair. And when you do get pricing, costs differ widely, are hard to compare, and you often have to negotiate with salespeople because pricing isn't consistent. Once again, the burden is on you to make sure you're getting a fair deal. And finally, a new element to purchasing a heat pump is the incredible array of incentives made possible by policymakers at many levels of government. For example, the Inflation Reduction Act provides for a $2,000 tax credit and a range of additional incentives coming soon through the states. Through local governments and utilities, there could be thousands of dollars in additional rebates, often totaling well over $5,000. But the rebate landscape can be complex for homeowners to navigate. It can be difficult to discover and redeem the rebates, and you're often stuck filling out paperwork and trying to track down rebates long after you've paid the upfront cost. So, when we step back and look at what it takes to buy a heat pump today, it can be pretty daunting. That's why Quilt is bringing buying a heat pump into the 21st century. Our guiding principle is to create the best customer experience end to end. So we've completely redesigned the purchase experience for home heating and cooling. First, you'll purchase Quilt the same way that you purchase anything online today. Let's take a closer look at the purchase process. It starts on quilt.com, where you can learn all about the product and our installation process in detail. And with some key information about your home, you'll get a recommended system size and a fully priced estimate, including installation, with clear next steps and scheduling all handled online. You can see the all-in price transparently online. Paul will come back in a bit to talk about our price. We also recognize that your home is unique and that you'll have questions along the way. And that's why you'll be paired with a Quilt advisor to work with you throughout the process. It's really the best of both worlds, having full transparency and information available online alongside personalized service from dedicated advisors. We've also massively simplified the rebate process. As I mentioned earlier, there are incredible incentives available. They can vary based on where you live and your circumstances, but they can be quite significant. Right on our website, we surface all of the rebates you're eligible for, and we discount the rebates up front off the cost of your system. We're proud to be pushing the industry forward by offering point-of-sale rebates, meaning no hassle, stress, or time spent filling out paperwork. Quilt handles all of it. Finally, the burden is not on you to find an installer. Quilt manages the installation process for you. We have recruited some of the best talent in HVAC to install your Quilt system and make sure that your home is treated with the utmost care and respect. So stepping back, we've built a straightforward, modern purchase process that eliminates the stress of finding an installer, simplifies the rebate process, and provides clear, transparent pricing. And speaking of pricing, I'd like to invite Paul back on stage to talk about our price.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Okay, so we've shared a lot, but we still haven't answered one important question. How much does Quilt cost? Well, how much should it cost? What do ductless systems today cost? Luckily, Rewiring America, the leading electrification nonprofit, recently helped us all answer that question. So they surveyed the market and found that today's ductless systems are on average priced between $5,300 for the lower end systems and to about $7,000 for the higher end systems, fully installed per single zone. We also collected hundreds of quotes, and in many places, like California, it's not uncommon to find quotes for $10,000 or even more per single zone. We've seen many examples of a 3-bedroom home be costing over $50,000 to upgrade. So what does this mean for Quilt? Well, our guiding principle is to create the best possible customer experience. And we believe that includes ensuring we provide considerably more value per dollar than anything else on the market. And I think you'll agree with me that we've done it. So I'm happy to share that Quilt is $64.99 per zone, fully installed, and that's before rebates with everything included. So, thank you. Okay, let's quickly recap what everything means. The Quilt Indoor Unit, the smallest and sleekest unit available today. The right number of Quilt Outdoor units, however many you need for the number of zones you have. The Quilt Dial, our vertically integrated smart thermostat designed for room-by-room control. The Quilt apps for iOS and Android. Energy optimization, cutting-edge occupancy detection, and over-the-air updates. Professional installation with all labor and materials. A single point of contact, your Quilt advisor, through your whole customer journey, and a 12-year warranty, matching the very best in the industry. That's a lot. So, all right, okay. I know what you're thinking. I think I know what you're thinking. When can you get it? Well, Quilt is available for reservation starting now. Anyone in the US or Canada can right now go to quilt.com and reserve a system. We will be rolling out installation service region by region, starting in our own backyard, the Bay Area, later this summer. Next, we'll be going down to Southern California, starting in Los Angeles. And after that, it's going to be based on reservation volume. So reserving a system is also a vote to come to your hometown next. But make no mistake, we want to get to everyone as soon as we possibly can. Our whole mission is to accelerate the energy transition, and that means for everyone. We are at a historic moment in time. For the first time in human history, we are moving past fire as our primary heat source. We are also moving past the fossil fuel era to an electric future that is both sustainable and electric, but also just better. The products in our lives will be smarter, cleaner, and more delightful. And I hope we've shown you today what that can mean for how we heat and cool our homes. It's been a privilege to share with you what the Quilt team has been working really, really hard on for the past 2 years. And of course, this is only the start. So thank you for listening. Thank you to all our early customers. And thank you to the incredible people working at Quilt who made everything you saw today. The future of heating and cooling is here. We'll see you next time. Thank you.